Hello everybody. I done goofed and recorded the mic all done fucked up all bad. So once you start hearing the episode, you'll hear that it's fucking, I don't know what you call it. I think they're called explosives or something. It's on all explosive. So apologies. Hopefully it's still all right. But the sound quality isn't the best for this, unfortunately. Enjoy. Maybe we should talk about politics. Or as I like to call it, politricks, huh? I was doing tricks and shit there.
Politricks.
Whoa. Easy now. It's a family show.
Imagine if you told me, actually, you can't swear on Celtic Politics.
Yeah, imagine. Can I swear? Have you listened to an episode of this? Absolutely not.
Yeah, please.
Please do not. Yeah, I don't know. That was a very, inelegant segue. But
Extremely inelegant, but it works. Yeah. What's on your mind, Gareth, politically speaking?
What's on my mind today? I think I've managed to... I kind of just got burnt out with politics and I didn't want to engage in it at all. It's kind of like... If you only do it on Twitter, then it kind of feels like Marvel movies or speculation, And I also think that everybody has kind of gotten fatigued with politics. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I've noticed that there's been a big resurgence of just main characters on Irish Twitter. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've seen a lot of people sharing stuff. You know that one, the farm one? Did you see that guy? Did he delete that? That was out yesterday.
Oh, where he said he was in like a rural pub and he described the scene.
Yeah, David Kerr tweeted out, a rural pub, cards, an owl lad watching from a distance, all involved in agriculture in some shape or form. And these people are going to take a rap to save the planet so urban folks can drive their SUVs and take 2 foreign holidays a year. Like, first of all, he's describing a farmer there, you know what I mean? Like,
I was going to say.
But it is like, there's been a resurgence of this type of stuff where like somebody will put out like a tweet and they'll just become the character for the day and it's incredibly entertaining,
And would you interpret the resurgence of that type of character as a sign that people are less interested in politics? Is that where you're going with that?
I think that they're just more checked out. I think like...
Right, yeah.
Because to me, like, when I started this podcast, we're like, all right, Sinn Féin had made gains and we're going to see kind of new type of politics. This should be interesting. Now, just a kind of change of the characters and like what's going to happen and who's going to form a coalition and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then just the apocalypse came out just in time to allow Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil to like hold on to power by like their absolute fingernails, Yeah. And now...
80 times.
Yeah. And the whole pandemic has just made everything the same story. That's what I kind of felt like with this again. It was like, we need to open up because of the businesses. We open up. Oh, everyone's sick. Okay, we need to close down again. Okay, we need to open up. And then like, the scandals that happen where you're suddenly like, all of these politicians have been found to be wantonly, brazenly corrupt. And what's going to happen now? What's that going to mean? And it's like, turns out it means nothing,
Absolutely fucking nothing.
And so like, we're in a stage now where the news is just the same, but like the amount of analysis or impact you can have on it is minimal. So I think that's my, argument for why main characters are making a comeback, because you can definitely have more of a comeback if you're just going, look at this fucking freak. Let's make fun of him for a few days,
Like a sideshow. I think you could be onto something, yeah. But like, it's been a long fucking slog the last like
it has
2 years.
It has
psychologically
really. It like has really put me through my paces because I like it was the worst time to decide to start paying attention to the news more than I normally would.
Yeah, because, I kind of like, you and the podcast and James, I kind of used you as like a bit of a proxy for the first like 9-10 months. I was like, I'll I'll contribute to the lads' podcast so that they will expose themselves to the toxicity for me.
Yeah. No, that was it. I did think about it like, the nostalgia critic where he's like, I remember it, so you don't have to. It's like, I get to it. I'll engage in this shit, so you don't have to. And then, when you look into the abyss, did you ever hear this? Have you ever heard about this? When you look in the abyss, folks, when the abyss looks back, what's the deal with the abyss looking back? Do
you think you hit a low point in terms of burnout?
Oh, absolutely.
Or were there several low points?
There were several low points, but this year in particular was I was during the summer, I was like, I can't do this. And then it was like, okay, well, me and Jay, we took a break, and then James was like, it was funny because James was kind of like, oh, do we really need to take a break? And then when we took a break, he was like, for a few weeks off, he was like, actually, I did not miss that at all. And I was like, he's like, why do we? I don't feel like I need to do that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But maybe if I brought it back. I was like, because I had it in my head, I was like, because it's definitely one of the more successful things that I've done, so, there's I did kind of set out to do things like learn a bit more about politics, and I did set out to do that. But anyway, so I was like, oh no, maybe I can't just throw that away. Let's give it another whack. And then now the past few weeks it's been another one where I was like, okay, I don't know if I can continue to do this. I got a job as well, so yeah.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That might have sounded sarcastic. I didn't mean it sarcastically. Congratulations. Fuck's sake.
I know, it's quite a win for me. Imagine having a job.
What do you think of Callan's Kicks?
Do
you ever listen to it?
No, I don't. In fact, I was kind of I would be ragging on Callan's Kicks usually. I would be because my parents would be like, oh, you have to hear what Callan said this week. It's very funny. And I was like, this I don't know. It just struck me as but the more I discovered the people who were writing for Callan's Kicks, I was like, fuck, it might actually be funny. I have no idea.
Some of it's very funny.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely. I would have been the same as you. I just kind of would have automatically put it into the same category as fucking Gift Grub or something.
Yes, exactly.
And just been like, it's probably not that funny. But my girlfriend's parents had it on in their house one weekend, and this is actually quite funny.
Yeah. And because when I heard it briefly in the background, they were talking about things like, I guess it's because it's written by people who are on Twitter,
Yeah, exactly. So it's much more online.
Yeah, so the stuff that they're talking about is I was kind of taken aback by, I guess, the context of stuff that they would talk about. Because, when you got those, we were talking about Gift Grub or whatever, it's almost sort of flattering to the people it's satirizing. Yeah. It's Michael D has a funny voice, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? And this politics is really highfalutin nonsense, isn't it? We're all just, in Callan's Kicks, for the little bits that I've heard, I was surprised to see that there was some sort of target, but I'm not going to say it's it still feels very. I mean, but it's because it's on the state broadcaster, so I don't really know what
safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But there's definitely more critique to be heard in the jokes than there would be on something like Gift Grub, and it is definitely strange. Yeah, an analysis and them saying, well, maybe this is bad, or this is good, maybe this is bad, whereas I feel with something like Gift Grub, it's just very fucking flat or something. There's no concept of there's no kind of judgment made one way or the other about anyone that's being kind of parodied. Plus the fact that how the fuck is he still going?
I don't know.
It feels like it's been it probably has been 30 years. I feel when I was under 10, I was seeing those Gift Grub Christmas albums floating around.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, one time this is Ireland actually. In when I think about it in comedy terms or anything, where it's if you came from a certain era, you cannot get fired from comedy in Ireland. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has to dance for people like Alison Spittle and I don't know why she's the only one coming to mind. Sorry, Alison. But ultimately, when you feel even people like her still have to dance for their dinner constantly. Whereas if you were on Father Ted or, you know, on some like Kilnascully even, then you're going to be able to.
It's all the same people.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they reliably get work no matter what. So, but anyway, the reason I was reminded of that at all is because there was a guy who visited our college, and he was, you know, I studied animation, so I brought in this guy who did like newspaper columns, you know, comics, and he kept drawing, like, he's like, oh, here's some of the characters I draw, and he's drawing Bertie Ahern. All right, so this was in like 2012 or something, and he kept drawing Bertie Ahern, and then people would be like, can you draw like Brian Cowan, because he's like the Taoiseach at that moment, you know. And he started drawing it, and then he just fucked it up. And he's like, I mean, it's hard. A lot of the characters are very hard to draw, you know. And you just have that kind of feeling of like, there's certain people, like, that's what I feel about Mario Rosenstock. It's like, I think he probably had an impression of Bertie Ahern, and then now he's an impressionist, so he has to come up with impressions for the rest of them. But they're never like particularly, I mean, I haven't seen much of it, I should say. But the only ones I ever see is Michael D. I only see the Michael D one, and it's like Michael D is one of the easiest people to impersonate. You know, he's a very distinctive way of talking, and you can also make like some sort of exaggerated thing, which makes you sound like you're just taking the piss. So,
but like I say this as someone who's not very good at impressions at all, so it probably sounds like spiteful, but I feel like that type of career or role, I feel like, is kind of like the logical endpoint for a lot of like TikTok kind of impressionists or TikTok comedians, where it's like you have like one bit, maybe like two bits, and let's just like, we'll do that again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if one thing I got surprised by was you know, the way they're you know, if you're a black impressionist, you know, then you could get a job replacing all of the white people who were doing offensive caricatures on. Because I was thinking, Cleveland on Family Guy, there was a guy who does a great impression of him, and they just replaced the white guy who does Cleveland's voice with this guy who does an impression of him. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, no, yeah. So it's like, I guess there is actually an entry point into. Well, also, yeah, if you're an impressionist, then you could probably get voice acting on, or used to be able to, with cartoons and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Like Billy West, I think that's where he started.
Now Chris Pratt's taken all the good jobs.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Don't get Jake. I know you.
That one just.
It's fine. It's fine for me, kind of paying like half attention to it on Twitter, but I know you're a big Garfield guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, like with Mario, I was like, oh, that's, you know, I kind of rolled my eyes because I thought, like, Chris Pratt voicing Mario, I think it just shows how what type of movie they want to make. But then it's like, who's to say what Mario sounds like? I know that they have this, you know, Charles Martinet, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He was, he does like the wahoo and let's go.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he just says like three things, and it's like, there's a lot you can add to that. And I clearly an uninspired choice, but I guess I get it, you know. But then when you hear Garfield, it's like, no, because Garfield's voice is famous as far as I'm concerned, you know. Because like I looked up interviews with Lorenzo Music, and I was like, you hear him talk, and it's like, oh my god, it's Garfield. It's just Garfield's voice, you know. And everybody, like, it's a lazy cat, and I don't know. I just don't see
Chris Pratt doesn't sound lazy.
No, I mean, maybe he'll do a lazy thing, but it's just like we were going down through the list of like, as I put up there, and a friend of mine who's in animation, he was like, we were just saying names back and forward who would have been good. So I said H. John Benjamin would have been an interesting Garfield.
Yes.
voice.
Oh man, he would have been fucking great.
All right, listen, you're my children, and I love you, but you're all terrible at what you do here. And I feel like I should tell you, I'd fire all of you if I could.
And then, because I was watching Breaking Bad for no particular reason, I thought that Jonathan Banks would be a funny Garfield.
Oh, gee, that's swell. And thank you for restoring my faith in the judicial system. Now, you either pay the $3, or you go back inside and you get an additional sticker.
Too grizzled, but
Frank, yeah, but still better than Chris Pratt.
Yeah. And then the one he came up with was like, I was like, no, that was it. Why didn't they do that? Was Nick Offerman, which is just obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Wait. I worry what you just heard was, give me a lot of bacon and eggs. What I said was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Do you understand?
I just don't understand how Nick Offerman isn't voicing Garfield.
I feel like he would be in the middle of the Venn diagram as well, where he would probably sound right and like he'd be pretty bankable. Like,
yeah, exactly.
In the same show as Chris Pratt for many years. Like,
he's in the Lego movie as well. Do you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know.
It's political correctness gone mad, Gar.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking Dave Bautista would have done a better job.
Dave Bautista is fucking excellent in Dune. Yeah,
you know he's excellent. Good. He's excellent in Blade Runner as well for that one scene that he has, and he's also really good in Spectre. Like, he's just great. I just really like Dave Bautista.
He's the thinking man's Dwayne Johnson.
Do you know what's funny is because, like, when I was a teenager, I was about 14 or 15, there was a girl in our year who was obsessed with Batista, okay?
Right.
The wrestler. And she was going on about, like, how hot he was and how amazing he was. And I was like, this guy is, like, you know, when you see the pictures of him, it's like, and then the whole wrestling thing, it's like, it doesn't do anything for me. So I was like, it was just surprising that, like 10, 15 years later that I'm suddenly like, wow, Batista is incredible. You know,
he is hot.
He is hot, and he is really, an incredible performer and an incredible physical presence. Like, he just, the figure of him is just like, when you see him fight in James Bond, it's like, that's worth
that
making
train
that movie.
Sequences.
Yeah.
That was the best part about Spectre. I thought Spectre was overall pretty shit and disappointing, but like the train sequence is pretty good.
Well, the thing about Spectre, I thought, was that it was actually like an actual old James Bond movie, you know, because it was kind of boring, and there's just like a kind of bit of globe trotting, but like it's like fight sequences that take place on trains or boats or whatever, you know.
Yeah. But it's the hits. Just give us the hits. Don't mess with the formula too much. Just
not to mention, like, he had that stupid fucking fingernail, which really pissed me off. Do you remember Batista's fingernail?
Was it supposed to be like, so he could poke people's eyes out?
Yes,
and then he kind of does it once, and that's never referred to again.
And it's also so that it, like, you know, when he's buried underneath the train, you can see this fingernail poking out. Like, James Bond really got him. Yeah.
Did you see the new one? Did you see No Time to Die?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it was pretty good, but I feel like what you reminded me of it there with the finger thing. I feel like there's so many examples or that's a good example of something that someone came up with the image or the idea or the gag, and they like reverse engineered everything from that, where they're like, And the example I'm thinking of in No Time to Die is when he explodes the guy's. I don't know. Do we have to do spoiler alert?
No, not really. Not with this character.
Yeah, like he like explodes the guy's head with his, or explodes the guy's eye. So there's a villain with a bionic eye, and Bond has like an EMP charge in his watch, and he finally kills him by like exploding his eye, and then he's like, "Oh, that really blew his mind." And you're like, "Oh," because the henchman has just been kind of this awkward presence the whole way through. You're like, why does this like bionic eye, like what the hell is going on? And then head blows up, and Bond, it really blew his mind. Okay. Someone was like, we have to get this joke into the movie, no matter what.
I loved my favorite bit of the whole movie. Well, I mean, I actually did like the movie, but I like that they kind of, you know, they were like, you know, with Casino Royale, they're like, we're going to get rid of everything for James Bond. He's just going to start from the ground up. He's a bit of a thug. And then slowly they've been reintroducing all of the stuff that they got rid of. Finally, they reintroduce like shitty lines that he says, you know? And there's a great bit where like him and Felix are on a boat, and then like Felix Leitner, I think his name is, and
Felix Leiter,
sorry, who's like
you're talking to James Bond as Mike Garfield.
No way. Okay.
Yeah.
But I love that they so you know they're on the boat, and the boat's about to blow up, and Felix is injured, and so he's like, I'm gonna go up and like sort out this bomb. You stay right here. And then he walks away, and then he turns around and he kind of like licks his lips like he's about to say like a really good joke, and he's like, you know, we really should stop meeting like this. And before he can finish that, this bomb goes off and just blows him halfway across the room. And I was like, that was so good. You know, we really should stop meeting like this.
Yeah.
Good one, you know.
Like, you could have used those few seconds to maybe mitigate the result of the explosion. There's a very good, just to your point earlier about like, Casino Royale like stripped it back or whatever, and they've just spent the last like 10 years, bringing it all back in. There's a very good YouTube channel called Eyebrow Cinema, and he does this like video essays on cinema and films and stuff. But he had a couple of like Bond ones, and he has one called like The Great Bondian Identity Crisis, and pretty much goes through all that, right? Where it's like, why is Casino Royale good? What does it do? And like Quantum Solace is shit, and like the whole kind of point of it ends up being that like, producers and directors and like the company that owns Bond need to stop kind of thinking that they have to reinvent the wheel every time, and then to a certain extent just like give people what they want. Like, people are gonna like, and this is probably relevant to like when they make the next one and what direction they decide to go with that. Like, it doesn't have to be a complete paradigm shift. Yeah, exactly. Every time, like, you could just make a very good Bond film, and people will turn out in their droves to see it. Like,
well, I had one that is a huge paradigm shift, which they'll never do, because also that's the worst. The other thing is that they'll never, when they say like they're gonna like change everything, it's like, do change it, but they don't really change it. Do you know what I mean? There's ways that they could like radically change it, but they decide that obviously we're not going to do that. But I was saying,
hit me with your Bond theory or your Bond suggestion.
Riz Ahmed plays James Bond, okay? Because it's like, I guess that was the, MI6 and kind of secret agencies and stuff like this, and how, like, we have our post 9/11 Bond. Now we should have our post 9/11 Bond, where he's actually where's he from? Where's Riz Ahmed from? Like, what's his kind of background? He's Muslim anyway, so yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a look here.
Riz Ahmed. He's from Britain, Gareth. Yeah. All right, he's English.
Damn. So anyhow, yeah, that was that. One other main character.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean though. I feel like that would annoy. I know what you're saying. Like, a Muslim Bond would annoy all the right people.
Well, it was more like, because the last James Bond was so confused, because I think they were like, because what was the villain's plan? And the villain's plan was like, I've got this virus and it like targets people in particular. You're like, oh my God, what does this mean? Who are you targeting? And they didn't want to say he's going to target all black people, because that would have been too weird. Although they did imply it heavily, Yeah,
I feel like it was very heavily implied. Like, your man's clearly a racist. What do you call that? The henchman dude that gets thrown into the acid at the end. Like,
yeah, but I felt that one of the things that they were almost going to do is they were almost going to say, it'll target all the Secret Service agents, and then everybody. I feel like that doesn't land the same way anymore. And especially after...
Not the secret agents.
Yeah, exactly. Not the people
who... kill them all, it's fine.
Yeah. Not the people who pull out people's fingernails inside fucking shipping containers,
Yeah. Oh, no.
That's why I feel like that would be that would be a way to, like, root for the secret, MI6 again, is to have an actual, like... But maybe I'm actually have that wrong. Maybe it's actually bad that you have a Muslim... secret agent.
I think Bond is like the wrong franchise to try and, like, all this shit about like oh, Bond is woke, or like this one was supposed to be like the woke Bond, whatever the fuck that means. But like, you know, there was a load of articles and there was a lot of like writing about, oh yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is contributing to the screenplay. It's going to be woke. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And like, it's like, he's the wrong character, the wrong friend. Like, it's never going to happen. You're never going to be able to come up with a like secret agent who works for like a fucking, you know, colonial empire, you know, who basically like has carte blanche to like fucking, you know, kill whoever he wants. Like, you're never gonna make him palatable in that way. So just fucking make it good. Just make an enjoyable movie. Like, as in make a good Bond, like you're saying.
Bring
like,
the
just make a good
jetpacks
Bond
back.
Movie. Bring back the fucking jetpacks, Garrett, is what
Go
I'm
to
saying.
the moon or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again.
Give Bond jetpacks again.
And also,
why go to the moon when you could go to the metaverse?
Oh man! Wait, I was going to say, why didn't they bring it back to the 60s? Like, why can't they just actually? Oh, let's go back. It was just a Man from U.N.C.L.E. type thing. Like, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was the fucking. That was a great movie.
Bring it back to the 60s, and you could just have an excuse for him being like a massive racist, misogynist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
Oh, it's set in the 60s.
The racism. Yeah.
So this, like, I don't know, the metaverse thing really, like, the more I read about it and the more of that video that I watched, the more just stupid the whole thing sounds. Like, there's the video that like all the clips that are doing the rounds has come from. It's called The Metaverse and How We'll Build It Together. And it's like, it's a long enough YouTube video, but that's where all those like clips of Zuckerberg looking awkward, kind of explaining what it is and talking about it. That's where that's all come from. And I suppose, maybe for the uninitiated, should we explain what Metaverse is or what we're referring to?
I think it was Facebook are changing their name and they're changing it to Meta, or at least the company that owns Facebook and all that stuff is now going to be called Meta, and it's kind of meant to be this
augmented virtual reality experience. Like, I think so what it is you're right. Like, the umbrella company that owns, you know, Instagram, Facebook and all of that, like, they are now Meta. So like whatever Meta Investments or whatever the fuck it is. And then Oculus, I think Oculus is the only like product, or like the only thing that is like a recognizable like brand now that is actually changing to Meta. So like Facebook is still Facebook, Instagram is still Instagram, WhatsApp is still going to be WhatsApp, but Oculus is now Meta, and they're all owned by Meta. So it's all just complete, like, it's all very meaningless. Like, it's all like, there's a couple of people who've looked at it from the perspective of announcing Meta and the metaverse and all that is just a way to kind of distract attention from all the, you know, kind of news about the whistleblower and kind of, you know, the Facebook whistleblower that was at the Web Summit.
I've heard people say that about like the Facebook whistleblower, as in like, oh, they're getting loads of bad publicity. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I don't think anybody cares, do you know?
As in cares about.
Do you think anybody cares about the whistleblower? Because the only people who I've seen who care about it are like journalists. Yeah. And they seem to care because like of how difficult their jobs have been made by Facebook, you know, and like, you know, like, basically anytime I see, they go, did you know that Facebook like deliberately targets people and knows that they're, you know, radicalizing people in a negative way, and that's what they rely on? It was like, I mean, hate to be this person, but yeah, we've known this forever. I don't really understand. I think the main thing that they're trying to draw attention away from is the like the perception that it's kind of a place for old awful people. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why they're kind of trying to pivot to be like, oh, we're going to be like an all-encompassing thing. We'll become like the new phone book or something. You won't even think about it. It'll be like, oh, I'm on the metaverse. You know, like they're the next evolution from the internet. And so that's the angle I think that they're going on. But yeah, I've heard people say like, oh yeah, they're trying to draw attention away from the fact that they're being exposed. And it's like, I don't know if they're really being exposed, you know?
Yeah. I'm tempted to say, that's probably like maybe a little bit too conspiratorial. You're probably more right to say it's like they're just trying to like recapture a market that they probably think they've lost.
Yeah, big time.
Like ever, but I don't know. It feels like I think the technology doesn't even exist yet, which is what surprised me. Like I thought it, some kind of demo, or there might be like a beta version of something, but like it's all just like all the background and all the kind of all the CGI in that video is just that. It's just like, this is what it could look like.
I mean, but
we don't know when.
I was thinking about this recently. How? This is going to feed into a bunch of other things we talk about, but I'm going to bring up COP26 as well, because COP26, for people who in the future, or people who don't know, it's basically like, I don't know, all these countries from around the world, the representatives meet in Glasgow to talk about climate, whatever, but it's all a big kind of, it's all bullshit, basically. Nobody really believes that anybody's going to stick to any of these commitments, and usually what it is I remember that clip of Greta Thunberg. That's where she kind of came to prominence at one of these kind of events before, where she's just yelling at all these world leaders about how we're all dying. And that seems to be what it is. It's like, it's an acknowledgement by the incredibly wealthy that, no, we're not going to do anything about this, but you can yell at us once a year and we'll make this face and look like we're kind of wounded and whatnot, But I was going to say, anyway, that's usually what it is, but...
it's theatre. It's pure theatre.
Yeah, but this year, it's like the gap has gotten so great between the rich and the poor. And they don't give a fuck anymore about pretending, So like they had Jeff Bezos was up there, and he said, the reason I know that the atmosphere is thinning is because I saw it from my spaceship, And you just kind of have this thing where it's like, you're supposed to get up there and look contrite, do you know what I mean? And kind of be like, oh, I'm sorry, we really are going to do something about this. But instead he's like, just rubbing it in everybody's face. But anyway, it reminded me then of like
Don't
Elon
mention
Musk.
The spaceship, Jeff.
Yeah. And then when Elon Musk had that guy dressed up as a robot, and he's like, we haven't made the robot yet, but this would kind of be what it would look like, if we didn't. And that's kind of the same with Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg going, the new internet, we haven't made it yet, but this is kind of what it would look like, And it's like, you're not even going to do the thing. You're not even going to do the thing that, you're supposed to justify why you have all of this money and why, capitalism is this great innovator of technology and whatnot. But now, instead of doing that, they just go like, whatever, I'll just pay a guy to pretend to be the robot, and that's as good as the robot, isn't it? And I don't know, it's just kind of a laziness and a kind of, I guess that are the people who are in control are so removed from consequence at this point that they don't feel like they even need to do the type of pretending that they're supposed to do anymore.
And especially not at something like COP, from the looks of it, where it's very cozy and very safe, and it seems like maybe I'm being cynical, but it seems like any kind of questioning or any kind of pressure that any of these people are put under is like very structured, and it's exactly. They knew these questions were going to be asked, and it's really just about, maybe there'll be a nice 2 or 3 minute video of Jeff Bezos or whatever making some kind of concession to, okay, maybe we need to change things.
And
what does COP stand for, Gareth?
I don't know.
Pop quiz.
Fucking hell. Wait, give me a second. Convention? No.
Not far off.
Oh, conference.
Yes. I'll give you a clue. There's a the in there that's not included in the abbreviation.
Shit. Okay, right. Over the pollution.
Conference of the Pollution. Correct. Yeah. That's exactly what it stands for. Conference of the Pollution 26.
Perfect. What is it?
Conference of the Parties.
Oh, God. All right. Well,
I think I saw someone tweet about the fact that like this is the 26th one. Like how if they still, if you haven't been able to fix it, or if you haven't been able to do something meaningful out of this in like 26 years, not why bother, but like, it's just a bit fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that picture of everyone throwing the coins into the Trevi fountain. It's all very like, I don't know.
I thought like the one thing that made me sort of dispirited, I mean, people have already said this and I kind of didn't want to believe it. I really like Greta Thunberg, but like, I guess there's, you get assimilated into that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And now you have like Greta Thunberg sitting next to like Boris Johnson or whatever. And I think Boris Johnson went up and he made a speech about like, but he quoted something that Greta Thunberg had said, do you know?
Yeah.
And, but he's like, don't worry, we're listening. And it's just like, yeah, it's there was something that really happened. She managed to get those school strikes and get people activated in big ways. And maybe it's not the end of it yet, but you just have this feeling where was something else as well that came up. I was we were killing time until we could see this movie yesterday. And we went into Smith's on Parnell Street, toy shop. And so there's all these toys for like Spider-Man and all this cool shit, you know? And obviously I got a bunch. I bought a bunch. I got the web shooters,
that was going to be my next question.
Hands, and but one of the things they had, like, here are these toys, and they're like, they were like a brown truck, like a really disgusting shit brown plastic truck, okay? And then they were in this kind of cardboard, and everything about this toy was going, this is signaling at you kind of bleeding heart liberal who like retweets Greta Thunberg videos, do you know?
Well, why? I don't understand why. What was the brown truck?
This is it. It was a toy that was made out of like recycled plastic or something.
Oh,
and
okay,
it was like,
I'm with you.
It looked like shit, okay? It looked like no fun at all. And it looked like, but you could see some parent picking up like, good, I'm going to have a good miserable time with this toy, and I have to give it this miserable toy to my kid.
A lot of Green Party voters will be buying that this Christmas.
But is that the thing we're talking about where it's like, they've also won this war of like optics when it comes to this, where it's like everything to do with saving the planet is miserable and a thankless experience, and you just have to fucking get on with it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so even the toys, it's like, this is the toys that they make. It's like to try and make people look, you're saving the planet. Here's a car that is literally the color of shit, and you just like, and then the packaging is like unpleasant. And then it's like, but then not being said in it as well. It's like, oh, it's being made out of other stuff. It's like, the best thing to do if you wanted to save the environment would be to not make a toy at all. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Like would be to recycle old toys, to get a secondhand toy or something like this. But anyway, I guess I just wanted to bring that up because I've seen clips of like Greta Thunberg, and it's like, yeah, we're all having fun, we're dancing here, and everybody's like but it's like, it doesn't look like fun. It doesn't look, enjoyable. The alternative that's proposed is never inviting, and sometimes I feel like the establishment chooses their critics as well as their advocates. Do you know what I mean? They'll be like, I know what you're saying,
but I think that, like, to a certain extent, I think it's a bit of a like false dichotomy sometimes, is the idea that like you're either inside or you're outside, and like you're outside for a while, and then no more than like the likes of like AOC in America, where it's like you're outside the system for a while, and then you're inside, and you've been assimilated, and look, there's another sign that capitalism will always win, and I don't know if I completely buy that, because like, the minute you're born, you're inside capitalism, so to speak. So like you're already in. So I don't know. I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say. As in, I don't know if it's like a helpful way to think about. I know what you mean, but I don't know. Is it a helpful way to think about it? As in, oh, Greta Thunberg is now inside, so anything she does is kind of always going to be balanced out, in the negative by something that the establishment is doing. Because now I know what you're saying, but like I think that's maybe the optimist in me.
No, I think like you're right, because it is a reductive take, you know. And I also
a little bit. I think it's like who benefits from that?
That's true.
View, like who benefits from someone who maybe has great intentions, looking at stuff happening and thinking, what's the point?
Yeah,
because like it kind of. I know this is very easy for me to say from here, like, and I felt apathetic and in fucking despair many times, but like, it's, you know, who benefits from, someone, you know, air quotes, someone, a good person or someone who wants to fight the good fight, just feeling like, fuck it, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't ask me how to save the climate, though.
No.
But do you know what I mean?
I do. No, yeah, you're right. Because, you know, you can get too kind of puritanical about this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I actually don't. I actually like Greta Thunberg. I don't think it's like, you know, she's like being co-opted necessarily. I think it was more just like what she. It's like, of what use? I guess it's like if your opponent can use whatever you have there. Oh, what am I getting at?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, as in if your views can be co-opted by the enemy or so easily co-opted, then like what good are they?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
But I do think no, because I'm trying to avoid being hyper negative, like you were saying there, where it's like it's very easy to kind of fall into despair, but it's very you know, I don't know. I guess the alternative, it's like, you know, the climate is her big focus, so she's going to show up to everything, any chance that she can get. She's going to be there to, you know, say something for it. But just because,
which includes the big stuff, like the kind of more establishment-y stuff.
Yeah, and then even then, it's kind of like you're hoping to push the needle and apply enough pressure that it's bad form for politicians to not be considerate of the environment, but like. As per usual, it's like one of the things that's happened there. There was an ad I just saw before we came on from Fine Gael released it. Have you seen that?
Which one? Not the Sean one.
No, it's one called. No, that one. We do need to talk about that. I'm worried about time. I have to try and like. There's actually. I was here saying, there's nothing to talk about, and it's like fucking hell. I forgot. There's actually a million things to talk about. Yeah. So Fine Gael put up an ad. We are putting an end to the blah, blah, blah with our new #climate action plan. We are taking bold action to halve Ireland's emissions by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. All these things I don't really pay attention to anymore because like they're never worth anything. It's never worth the paper they're written on, you know, because they just breeze past them because they can consistently do that. It's always a problem for later. But I did think that the idea of, you know, there's a lot of people out there saying, we care about the climate. But then Fine Gael put out this thing where they go, enough talk. Let's do something. It's like, so now you've taken that language as well. Now you're using that. Like, and this Radker is in this video addressing people. It's like the amount of things that we can pull up of Radker, obviously. I mean, it's kind of shooting fish in a barrel. It's pointless at this stage to be like, you know, Radker.
Tell me, Gareth, how do you feel about Leo Varadkar, Gareth?
Was he a hypocrite at some stage? Surely not, you know. But like the one that
I think maybe just for like, for anyone, for all the listeners out there who can't see, I'm looking at this clip is on there. It's on Fine Gael's Twitter page, but like the visual of it is like the camera is behind this dude walking out onto a stage.
Who looks exactly like Varadkar. I'm saying like his hair, everything about him, his silhouette is Varadkar. Yeah. It's crazy.
And he's like, ladies and gentlemen, is this supposed to be their attempt at like parodying?
Yeah, this is the kind of like the type of spoofers that'll go out.
As in, don't listen to this guy.
Yeah. So he's a spoofer, and he's going, let's create new jobs, create blah 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 blah, and lots of other blah 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 too. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah 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 blah. And then they have Greta Thunberg, and it's like she's saying blah 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 blah. Wait, hold on, let me see what. That's what she said. She said blah blah blah, and so they're using that from her speech to be like, we're like Greta Thunberg, you know. Except like
some politicians don't care about climate change, but we do, says Leo Varadkar.
Who said that? Like, what politician would fucking say that? Now, except for like the Healy Rays, you know.
yeah.
But like that's a whole act. That's a whole thing, you know.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, change our electricity system. to help.
You would have to hope though. Like, I don't know what this. They tweeted this 1 o'clock. So they tweeted this 4 hours ago, and it's got like 8 likes.
Jesus.
And 3 retweets. And like, I'd say I'm just looking at the likes now. Like, it's a lot of like, you know, Emer Higgins, Fine Gael TD, Neil Richmond. Like, I mean, I don't know. You have to wonder, are they getting any kind of return on investment for these types of ads? Like, other than the majority of people, you would imagine that the people who are going to see these ads will probably be taking the piss out of them.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe that's a bit of an echo chambery thing to say, but like, I still feel like obviously the people that I follow on Twitter would probably be more commenting sarcastically on this.
Yeah. I'm just kind of taken aback by the change our electricity system, given that we're looking at blackouts this Christmas because of data centers that they refuse to stop building. And like, if they are changing the electricity system, it's definitely not for the people of Ireland. It's to facilitate more data centers, you know? Yeah. So like, and then obviously they have like better travel. Obviously that's bullshit. They don't give a shit about that. And we're changing our heating systems. That one's just kind of popular one. It's kind of like, you know, the protests that are happening in the UK at the moment with retrofitting. But anyway, whatever. Like, okay. But like, there's.
I think to your point though, like this is an example of an entity that really you couldn't say genuinely cares about, you know, climate action. Yeah. And they're kind of co-opting, to use the term, the language of the, like, well, not even just co-opt, they're blatantly using a clip of Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
In the ad. But I know, I suppose, like, to go back to your original point. Yeah, exactly. That's not her fault. Like, you know, I'm sure Greta didn't sign off on this, and she probably would. Yeah. You know, so like, she'd probably like raise her eyebrows at it if she saw it. Like, but
I just want to find that clip of fucking Leo Varadkar like boasting about how Trump rang him before he ran for president to try and prevent a windmill from being built in front of his hotel in Clare, and Varadkar was able to help him because they are an eyesore. You know, it's like, and there's like all these windmills in this video. It's like, it's just, you can't. This guy, like, he's got to go. I just sometimes some people will be saying, to me,
shit.
Have you seen, like, you know, like about a year from now, he's going to be Taoiseach again, and I'm like, I'm having a visceral reaction to the idea of this fucking. Yeah. Anyway,
I'd be genuinely concerned for your well-being if and when he becomes Taoiseach again.
Do you ever feel like, you know, I found out that a guy that I know who's not that much older than me had a stroke, okay? And that was the first time I realized, oh my God, I could have a stroke, you know? And so now, like, as in, because sometimes you're just like, whatever, you're just like looking at the news, it doesn't matter, you know? You can eat these, you know, whatever you eat just to keep yourself standing upright, you know? And then you realize, oh, actually, something could happen to my head. And honestly, like, sometimes when I'm seeing Varadkar say something particularly egregious, I do get genuinely concerned for my health. Like, I just feel like physically depleted every time he says something. Anyway, I can't.
Maybe you should stop doing this podcast, Aaron.
I mean,
and that was the final ever episode of Celtic
Well,
Light.
funny you should say that. So, yeah, no, that was it. I guess, you know, while we're talking about Varadkar, then we should probably talk about Paddy Cosgrave telling a room of people in Lisbon that a bunch of, like, because I love, like, people were like, you know, don't fall for Paddy Cosgrave's lies, you know. They're like saying, like, he's a bad man as well, and it's like, yeah, I don't like Paddy Cosgrave, but it does bring me joy. Because also there's like there's definitely a bunch of bemused people in Lisbon who are going like, oh, he's under criminal investigation. Oh, okay. Leo Varadkar, who is he again? Oh, right. He's like, he's not the leader of Ireland. He's used to, okay. They definitely don't really give a shit, you know? But like...
Yeah, but it is funny. It is funny that he brought it up.
Yeah, and it's also funny because you know how much it bothered Leo. Like, it bothers him immensely for something to be on stage in, like, Europe. Like, that's the thing he loves.
You were the first person that I thought of when I saw it.
Yeah.
As Leo Varadkar's gonna hate this. Gareth is gonna fucking love this.
I I'm taking
it's a good example. It's another good example of like, you know, I know even this in itself is like a bit of a lazy trope at this stage, but the whole like worst person you know makes a good point. Like, Paddy Cosgrave, definitely not a great guy at all, but good that he's highlighting this ongoing investigation, as we know. But what does that even mean? Yeah. And how is it not resolved yet? I mean, it's gone on far too long. And then the idea of it, like, once again, the idea of nothing's real anymore. Nothing is real anymore.
You know, nothing's real anymore. What a great idea for music. You know, nothing's real anymore.
Like, that's one of the things that I wouldn't entirely attribute it to Trump, you know? Like, obviously there's like always been lies in politics and stuff. But I do think 2016 is where you start seeing like the precious norms. Do you know what I mean? The things that like apparently you can't do, that you can and can't say in polite society, or that you can't. I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of struck by all the things that have happened, and yet we just continue as if nothing is going on. Like with the cases at the moment, like the simple thing where it's like, so when they say said is like Radker said that luckily children are less likely to get COVID. It's like, how are the case numbers so fucking high then? Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, where are the cases coming from? Oh, well, we dismantle the test and trace. And the cases are getting worse, but it's okay. And everything should open up, and we don't need to examine it anymore. And if you tell us we do, then you're bullying us. You're mean, you're politically minded, and
you're a populist.
Yeah, and it's quite remarkable. It's like, it's I don't know. I just feel like a broken record, but honestly, it's like, I don't know how bad things can continue to get without any sort of consequence whatsoever, you know? Well,
let me put it to you this way. Would you be satisfied that real meaningful change is possible if former Taoiseach, current Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar went to jail?
Yes.
Okay, you heard it here first. It is possible.
I think
we can save Garrett's fate in society.
Yeah. Sorry, just even saying that was like, I would love him to go to jail. I would love him to just spend a fucking night somewhere in jail, do you know? I would love to get public stocks brought back and he'd be put in them, you know? I mean, you only have to be in them for an hour, but it'd be enough, you know? Like, just, there should be something. I mean, like I was saying with like all these millionaires as well, or the billionaires, where you're kind of like, you know, like it used to be that if you had that obscene amount of wealth, that, no, I guess not. I don't know what I was trying to say. On. No, I was trying to say, like, I was bringing up that COP thing, the idea of like, there would be some sort of like public airing. Something would have to happen where people would be like, you know, giving out about you or anything, or whatever. No, look, I'm not going to finish that point because it was stupid. The rich people have always won. It's never been a thing where they were.
No, I was going to say, I had kind of an argument with my brother last Christmas, kind of along these lines, and the point was kind of what's the point? As in, the powerful will stay powerful, the rich will stay rich.
Yeah,
you know, is there any point even trying to affect any kind of change? If, you know, why would the powerful ever relinquish their power? Really?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. The best I could come up with is that like, you kind of have to start. You'd have to start like at the small scale, or like at the, you know, at the level of the community or something, or like try and make something positive happen in like, I don't know, your fucking the cul-de-sac you live in, or like the town you live in, or whatever. Yeah. Do something local, and I feel like that's, I don't know, like you start at the local level, and then maybe there's a knock-on effect, or maybe not, but at least you've changed something in your like lived experience and lived experience of others, like, you know, as opposed to, because I feel like if all you're focusing on is on the macro, like at the macro level, things are shit. Like so shit.
Yeah.
But it is compelling, as we know.
Yeah. I mean, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, as they say.
Yes. I thought it was funny to go back, like just to go back to the Cosgrave and Varadkar thing. Yeah. There's a clip, you know, the clip of Cosgrave, you know, announcing it and talking about the whistleblowers, and he brings up the village, the cover of the village on the screens, and he's going through it, and there's obviously a slide deck or a PowerPoint, and it goes from the yellow image to like some other image, and then as he's bringing it's Shea Bowes, and I can't remember the name of the others that he brings onto stage, but he brings on the whistleblowers and the journalists who worked on the story to the stage for like a big round of applause and a cheer. But like Cosgrave is kind of going through his spiel, and you watch the clip, he kind of like, it's like he glances up at the screens and realizes that it's not the yellow slide, and he says yellow slide, and it's like he's saying, like, he's obviously saying like, change that back to the yellow slide for the photos, because that's the fucking money shot. It's like the Leo the leak. Like, then obviously he knew well that it was a case of, this has to be the picture. This has to be this, when the story is reported on, like, this is the image we want. We want like Farker's face, like front and center. It's just so petty, but funny at the same time. You can tell like, he's just really like at the back of his mind. I don't know. Maybe this is very cynical of me, but it's not even that he's like actually concerned about like the civic good and the public good. And Cosgrave's just like, nah, fuck this guy. I don't like him. Yeah, like
it's some petty thing to do with like the Web Summit in Dublin. I never really figured it out, but I think
beef with the IDA.
Something with like event space or something, or funding. I'm not entirely sure, but like one of the other things is that he, for some reason, years ago for Take Back the City, RTE decided to have him on to talk about the Take Back the City movement, which is
have Cosgrave on.
Yeah. So what? And he was talking about how it's disgraceful that there's like no housing in the city and blah blah blah, and but he was doing it from like. He said, we have this like thriving tech sector and none of them are able to live here in the city. So that was his takeaway from it. His beef was the fact that we couldn't...
Won't someone think of the tech...
Exactly. The people who were like dislocating entire communities, they're the ones who need to be considered, you know? So I'm trying to figure out what happened in the past few weeks as well. Chapters is closing. What was the other thing that was closing? Science Gallery. And they both came one after the other, leading Pascal Donoghue to write something like, we need to figure out how to save the city from all the things that I'm doing to it, you know, like, that my party is responsible for. And then that was one thing.
Talk about like, I don't know if this is relevant, but like you talk about things getting kind of co-opted or becoming like shorthand for things. Yeah. But, you know, like the hot dog guy from I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely a metric, is like, how often are you seeing him on your timeline?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like a good indication for like how much blatant hypocrisy is going on this week.
Yeah. But wait, what was it? Yeah. Okay, give me 2 seconds while my hungover brain tries to just acclimatize very briefly.
Yeah. Acclimatize away.
Yeah.
Talked about COP26. Talked a little bit about the metaverse.
Yeah. I really do.
Have you ordered your copy of Richard Chambers' book yet?
No, I have not. And I have mixed feelings about I think about Richard Chambers and Gavan Reilly. Like, I actually, Richard Chambers blows Gavan Reilly out of the water.
Yes, agreed.
Gavan Reilly, very disappointing man. He's all right. Like, I like getting him for like an overview of the news and stuff, but then he'll just... One of the things where I started to kind of fall away from him was, quite early on, but like, I saw something where during Afghanistan, with Afghanistan, you remember that, like, it was like the plane leaving and all the people were like clinging to the side of it. It's really harrowing footage. And he tweeted that out and he's like, was it all for this? Fuck off, like, and so, but like recently now he's had 2 doozies in the past week. God, what was it? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I only took a picture of it. It was deleted before that could happen. So anyway, the one thing that he did first of all was
you and Niall were all over that.
yeah, we were really loving that. So
pretty fucking bad.
Yeah. So the tweet that I'm scrolling up through my messages with I guess it's Niall. I like that I don't know whether his name is actually Niall. He was on the podcast and I just like, I find it funny. That's all,
Oh shit. I genuinely just assumed his name was Niall.
I think
Niall, if you're listening.
Yeah. or if you want to be named Niall. I don't know. But
apologies if I got your name wrong. This is the trouble with these parasocial relationships where you don't really know them. I feel like I know them. But go on, sorry.
Gavan Reilly put out, like, basically some guy put out a graph, okay? And it's about the case numbers. And so the case numbers are on the rise. And people kind of are like, you know, the graph men are very interested in it not being what it is. So, like, I cannot stress this enough, people. And everybody knows that we're not fucking epidemiologists. But it's safe to say, if somebody has COVID and you stand next to them, there's a chance you could get COVID, okay? And it's literally as simple as that. So it's the idea that, like, when you open things up and more people are in contact with each other, some of them might have COVID and then others might get COVID, you know? So this person was like, interesting, the people who are like who are getting COVID, and he like made this graph or something, you know? And culturally speaking, it was like, I think it was about like uptake of vaccines, or it was uptake of whoever's getting it. Doesn't matter. The point is that Gavan Reilly decided that he would like weigh it, you know? He had a little anecdote that he wanted to say. So let me just try and pull this up. I didn't. I thought I had it open, but it turns out I did not. God, I did not. I have a lot of photos. I was watching Breaking Bad and I was captivated by how stupid Walter White's hat is. I find his hat so dumb.
Yeah, you really weren't enjoying the hat.
No, I wasn't. Where the fuck is this? So, Gavan Reilly tweeted out... Yeah, so some guy called Tom, some fucking random, tweets out, not really surprising if you look at the in-country rates for Eastern EU states. No point doing Slavic language ads on Irish TV/radio, as such migrants don't concern, blah, 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 blah. And there's a graph there. So anyway, Gavan Reilly has tweeted out, a government source told me last summer that one major factor with COVID at meat plants was the degree to which migrant workers still consume their home country's media, and how Brazilian staff therefore copied the Bolsonaro outlook. And it was like, so much to unpack with that, which is crazy, which is like, the simple one-to-one nature of a virus means, why, like, the question should be, why the fuck were the meat plants open, do you know?
Yeah,
like, that's what everybody was not asking back then, and that's the only thing that needs to be asked. And then it goes like, sorry, I mean, not to mention, like, and then it turns out that, like, the people who, you know, they love Bolsonaro so much, they decided to emigrate to Ireland, okay? And now they're in the meat plants, okay, and they're shooting the breeze. They're talking about their country's media, which is saying, "Hey, don't worry about COVID. Let's just open up as quickly as possible." Unlike the Irish media, which was saying, what was it saying? Anything different? I mean, like, and then on top of that,
stretch.
And then Zainab was quick to point out this is my lady, was just the kind of implication. I mean, the first, like, me personally, when you say government source, I was like, who is this person? We need to know immediately who this fucking racist is. And
yes, exactly.
And then next was like, they therefore, you know, copied.
I was chatting to Noel Grealish, and he let me know that.
So, like, but like the way that the migrant workers consume their media, you know, very different to the way that we consume media. You know, as in, like, we're like these discerning purveyors of media. We look at it and we like weigh up, you know, what happened. But these guys, when they hear Bolsonaro said something, they just go out and fucking do it. They don't think twice. That's where they get their main source of media from. Do you know?
It was, as soon as you, when you, like, I feel like I would always like psychologically myself tend towards kind of give people the benefit of the doubt, but I feel like as soon as you start to peel that back at all, like, that's pretty racist. That's fucking now. And to be fair to him, he did take it down.
He did, but here's the thing he posted afterwards, which I was like, did anybody catch his reply to all these people giving out to him? And wouldn't you know it, Annie Boy Nonsense delivers.
Delivers the goods.
Yeah, and the tweet, he goes, "That's not the sole reason, obviously. Please stop replying as if I/they said it was." Okay?
Right, yeah.
And then you're just like... it was one of those things where it's like, obviously it's not the only reason. It's like, it's not the fucking reason at all. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah.
I just like... I don't know. It was so stupid. I mean, it was such a kind of clear thing of like... this anecdote is burning a hole in his pocket. He's like, I gotta say this to somebody, and I gotta be like the person at the party who's putting on the next YouTube clip. Like, oh, wait until you see this one. This is another interesting thing. You know, like it's like, or like an NPR thing. You know, you listen to like fucking This American Life, and it's like usually what
Guy Raz.
Do you know where it's like where they have? It's the only thing that I know how to talk about. Where it's like on This American Life where they'll talk about something. It's like, oh no, Freakonomics. Actually, that's a better example. It's like,
oh right, yeah,
where you have this idea of like this kind of person goes, and then there was, I don't know, loads of people started buying oranges. And you think it's because they liked oranges, but it turns out it's because of spiders, you know? It's like, it's an interesting thing that you didn't know. It turns out that the virus, that everybody knows how it works, where you get it just by standing next to somebody, turns out maybe it's because they're Brazilian, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's fucking weird.
I think it's like, it's just another example of the way that the internet has just fucked us all up.
Yeah.
In that, I know Gavan Reilly, he's a journalist, whatever. It's kind of is it his job to like have opinions, or I know you could discuss that, whatever. But you know what I mean? Everyone feels like they have to have a take, or they have to have a fresh analysis or whatever. And I feel like, with something like TikTok, for example, right? It's the same urge, right? Or the app tries to encourage the same behavior where it's just like, produce, make, kind of be on the app all the time and make these little videos. Whereas like, maybe I'm wrong, but in my head, at least, like with TikTok, it's just like stupid, like fucking videos and some of them are like really funny. Whereas like Twitter is like the same urge, but with the kind of veneer of like into being smarter or more intellectual, where like, this is what I think. And actually no one else has considered this angle, but it's coming from the exact same place. Like, and then you could just you can get it so wrong. And
the hot take sickness.
The hot take sickness.
Where you just
I think with Gavan Reilly and like Richard Chambers is like, I feel like they're a good example of like, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain in like online terms. Because I feel like early pandemic, when like a lot of people were like obviously just kind of existing online and on Twitter, I feel like they were kind of seen as like, a kind of light or whatever, or like a beacon of this is what's happening and don't worry and everything's going to be fine. And here's, Gavan Reilly, Richard Chambers, our king. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. But if it like kind of goes on long enough, you'll probably get people branching into two groups where like, you either stay a big fan or you're just like anything. Familiarity breeds contempt, and you're like, fucking hell, I'm just seeing this all the time, and maybe they should fuck off or whatever. Like, and I think you see it a lot
it's not like that they're left wing, but there is definitely, they are a breath of fresh air from some of the people who be on like RT, for example, and a lot of the columnists you're exposed to, but they still struggle with any of people with just like lib disease, basically, just this idea of like, moral values, and like actually everybody in government is just trying to do their best, like
the kind of like feeling. Technocratic, it's just all we need are the smartest people together in a room, and humanity will prevail. I get what you're saying. I don't know about this whole thing. I feel like I've seen people kind of critique, just to go back to the Richard Chambers book, like and say it's too soon, or it's cynical and it's kind of opportunistic or whatever. I don't know. I'm kind of more leaning towards, like, I saw him say, like, what, like, surely this is the best time to write down what is happening while it's kind of still happening, or while it's even just from the practical element of like, it's fresh in his head, like, just fucking get it down on paper and like, this is, what did he said it was like a time capsule or whatever. Now, obviously, I haven't read the book. I don't know if I would go out and buy it, but I might go out and buy it eventually, just out of curiosity. And if someone gave it to me, I'd probably read it. And like, obviously there will eventually be a critique of the book itself. But then I feel like what's happening more so now is a critique of the idea of him writing the book in the first place. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I buy that. Like, I'm kind of like, fuck it. Like, what, it seems to have pissed Stephen Donnelly off, which is
I mean, that's kind of it to the book's credit then, because like when I saw it, I was like, this looks like personal myth making, and you're like, it felt very self-aggrandizing, where you're kind of like, you know, COVID Ireland or whatever it's called. I can't remember it. But like, you know, and then the cover, it was very sensational, and it was like, God, you're writing a book.
I hate the cover.
Yeah.
I hate the cover.
And it's something that we're still living through. But then when I heard that it was like, it was more like descriptive, I suppose, of the like the Shane Ross's autobiography, I think, was released, and he was just finishing it up just as COVID was happening. And James read it, and there was like a bit in it where he essentially said that there were 3 people who were tasked with everything COVID. It was Tony Houlihan, Simon Harris, and Leo Varadkar, and everybody else was deliberately kept out of the loop, you know? And that was a kind of very...
This is what Shane Ross said.
Yeah. And from an outside observer, it's like, that is like what it looked like, but it was interesting to have that insight. And I guess now that I'm hearing that, like, Stephen Donnelly was pissed off about it, so that's pretty good.
Plus one Chambers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested for that reason, because hopefully it's reflective of... But then the other thing that put me off was that Hazel Chu bought like 2 copies, and she posted, after last night's prime time, I bought myself 2 copies. It was like, you're in government with these people. What's wrong with you? You voted for this. You know, it's this thing again where it's like, nothing means anything
hot dog
anymore.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing's real anymore. Nothing's real anymore.
You know, nothing's real anymore. What a great idea for music. You know, nothing's real anymore.
Initially, I found the thing tasteless, but I would love to have some sort of, you know, just, I don't know, there was something about it where it's like, God, crazy times in Leinster House. That's what it felt like. Whereas rather than like a criticism.
Times at Leinster House.
Yeah. But now it's like, it feels more like a criticism rather than like, you know, that's politics, you know, as Michael knows called, the politics, what a concept. But here's a tweet though that got deleted very quickly, and it's related to the book, okay? So, and I've been dying to read it now. I've been staring at it for, you know, since I opened it up.
There is a look of glee on Gareth's face right now.
So, Chapters Bookstore, Dublin, that puts out announcement. After 40 years in business at Chapter Books, will close its stores early in 2022. To extend our sincere gratitude to customers old and new, we are hosting a huge clearance sale. 2 for 1 on all items. Exclusive bestsellers. Buy 2 items, get cheapest free, in-store only. Gavan Reilly retweets this. This basically means you can go and buy at News Chambers book on Parnell Street and get mine on the side for free. Or a free second copy of Richard's book, which to be fair is a much more attractive option. Brackets, really sad to see this news. Chapter Books is a modern Dublin institution.
He did not tweet that.
He did, and he deleted it really quickly. And I was like, I'm getting this, because there's no way this is staying up, you know. And so I managed to get a screenshot of that.
Like the fucking eye of Sauron.
Yeah,
just
no.
Like, always there.
But I was like, I don't know if I want to, because I already spent like the previous day giving out about Gavan Reilly, because that tweet really got under my skin about the Brazilian thing, because it's like, you know, I mean, it's a community that really does not need any more hostility directed at it, you know.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I feel like you're always onto a bad one if you're like, I feel like it shouldn't even fucking need to be said, but if once you start commenting on a group of people in a very like monolithic, like this is what this group are like, that's fucking, you know, just don't do that. Maybe
no, absolutely.
You know, maybe spend a little bit more time thinking about what the point you're trying to make, and maybe don't make it, or, you know, make it differently. But like, I feel like the book one is maybe just like, that's a bit of a like, you know, maybe bad taste or whatever. But
it does you know, that point we gave to Richard Chambers, and he didn't tweet this, but this is symptomatic of the type of culture that he's feeding into by writing this book and being one of these Twitter journalists. So -1 point to Richard Chambers now as well. But anyway, yeah, that was one. That's Gavan Reilly. Those are the journos. These are the people who are meant to save us. And I guess I'll read his book. I'll find out what Richard Chambers has to say about COVID. Although, did you see, by the way, that video of him signing books in Waterford?
Yes, and your man comes over and starts harassing him.
That was funny because, well, it wasn't funny because I don't want anything to happen to Richard Chambers, but I found it funny because your man was like, do you know how afraid you've made people? And it's like, I can't help it that the news is what it is. You know?
Yeah, and I'm like, do you know how afraid you're making Richard Chambers right now by approaching him in fucking real life and like accosting him?
Yeah, for like what? For like, oh, you reported the news, and I know he thinks that it's a cottage industry of like panic, and then, you know, hard to debate him with the cover of that book, you know what I mean, and releasing it like he is, you know. But,
I know, yeah, but like, still though, like fucking
no, it's kind of like you know, when you have like, you go to the doctor and they're like, we're gonna have to remove your appendix. And like, do you know how like scared that makes me? That you're telling me that you're gonna have to cut me open and remove my appendix. How fucking dare you?
How could you do this?
How could you do this to me? Like, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that there is actually a virus that's running throughout the community and country, and people could potentially die, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I think he's probably just, in that guy's eyes, Richard Chambers is just guilty because you're the one reporting it, and it's like you're just spewing the lies of the Illuminati. So that was that. But see, and that to me is that +1 Chambers? Is Chambers in the green again?
Fuck.
I mean, if we're saying, you know, a point is it's good to piss off Stephen Donnelly, +1. Yeah. Are we saying it's also good to piss off like anti-vax conspiracy theorists? I think it's probably
fuck. All right, fine.
That's a good thing.
Fine, I give him a +1. Very begrudgingly.
He's back, baby.
I'm not rooting for him, so that's why I'm annoyed. But he is on the board now. Let's get him.
But isn't this now what we're fucking doing right now? This is like a perfect example of another example of how just Twitter has fucking ruined us all. Is that like these human beings just become just these like avatars and like, oh, who did you get? I got Gavan Reilly. Oh, I got Richard Chambers. Like fucking Happy Meal toys or something. Like,
do you remember? Like, I don't know if you remember that fucking Charlie Brooker did a show about video games years ago. Did you see that?
Which one? Or was it just the one? I feel like I've seen a lot of like
video games or something. It was a big thing. And had a pre-insane Graham Linehan on, who actually made some interesting points about video games.
Right.
He was like, I implore people who make video games to stop watching movies and read books instead, because I'm fed up of games that are just movies. And I was like, correct.
I've seen you make similar points.
Yeah.
Good point, Gareth Lines. And only Gareth Lines.
So anyways, he did like a breakdown, top 10 most influential games of all time or something, you know.
Right.
Pac-Man and fucking Mario, blah, blah, blah. So what do you think number 1 video game, most influential video game of all time is?
Video game or video game character?
Or just game, let's say. Which most influential game of all time?
Like Pong?
Think about, I'll give you one more go, but I'm just starting to think about like...
No,
I'll give you one more go because I'm like, because it's a trick question sort of, because you have to think about like the type of, like the NPR maneuver that I was talking about, you know, the Freakonomics style thing. What would Charlie Brooker, as this kind of lib, like what would he...
Like he's trying to be clever and he's like...
yeah. So what would it be?
God.
Because I think you could get it. I kind of believe in you.
We'll edit out like the pause of me thinking, what would Charlie Brooker say is the most influential game of all time?
You know, I don't want to give any more clues.
Like a liberal video game. So it's not Grand Theft Auto. It's not like
you're going way
Super
off.
Mario wouldn't make any sense. I know. Yeah, I'm probably thinking too. Okay, can I get like an era? Like, give me a.
Yeah, let's say because. Like, is it a game? That's what we, you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, like the internet.
Oh, yeah, almost. Yeah. Twitter.
Fuck it.
Number 1, Twitter.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because you go on and you're a character and you have an avatar and you're pretending to be people and you're getting points, you know? They're giving you likes and hearts and all that shit.
All right, Charlie. We get it. You're edgy and smart. Okay. Fair. You're such a clever boy. It's funny actually. That reminds me to like very roundabout way go back to the thing we were talking about earlier about like the metaverse.
The metaverse,
But I think it's very funny that like in that video Zuckerberg is like, you can be whoever you want. You could have your work self and your work avatar, and then you could have your social avatar, and then maybe one that's just for fun, and that's all fine. But then I found this interview with him. I think he might have gone on record in like 2010 or 2011, and I think the subject of the interview or the conversation, the statement that Zuckerberg made was all about like privacy on Facebook, and they were talking about how does someone verify that they are who they say they are on Facebook with their profile. And Zuckerberg basically said having two identities for yourself is an example of a lack of integrity. And 2010, so we're talking about 11 years ago. And so he's saying, and I'm quoting from an article about the interview with Zuckerberg. He's saying, you have one identity, Zuckerberg emphasized 3 times in a single interview. The days of you having a different image for your work friends or co-workers and for the other people are probably coming to an end pretty quickly. Having 2 identities for yourself is an example of a lack of integrity. Fast forward 11 years. Actually, maybe you want to be a cool robot, or
not to mention, like,
if you want to be,
isn't the whole thing that people are giving out about is the anonymity of online, and they want people to not have like alter egos or anything like that. Like there's all these like
exactly, which I think is the point that he was making in that 2010 quote. And for whatever reason, I think maybe he's just like realized that, okay, I need to try a different approach.
Well, I remember watching
Let's try and be fucking
hyper normalization. I watched that like years ago. Yes. There's a bit in the middle where he talks about cyberspace and the utopian idea of what cyberspace was meant to be, where you could be literally anyone or anything that you desired, and you'd be liberated. And that was a concept obviously from like the 1970s, and now we have this concept brought up again, except it was supposed to be removed from capitalism, from all society and all this, not like as in a different society, but it turns out like capitalism just has now co-opted it to be like, you can stand it. You can. How do you go to work the way that you want to go to work? It's like, why do I have to go to work? Why does that have to happen at all?
It's like you had a blank canvas to create a fucking digital utopia, and you've created like a meeting room with like funky wallpaper.
Exactly. It's like, wow, I can be in the boardroom of my dreams.
I can be depressed. I can be virtually depressed.
I can be virtually trapped by all of these institutions that make my life miserable.
Wow.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try. One thing I want to talk about then, just to like, this is kind of. There's been no order because I've been hungover and you've been very helpful and polite and understanding. So thank you. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
So. But yeah, I want to talk about the Sinn Féin heel turn, as I've referred to it in this document, which is like, like I've felt kind of embarrassed about some of the things that I've said about Sinn Féin on this podcast as a result of what's happened over the past few weeks. Because I was like, I used to be, because I was like, like you want the duopoly broken. I was like, Sinn Féin, not a perfect party, but I had like a disproportionate amount of faith in some of the people who are now kind of doing things that are making me very sad and suspicious, But yeah, the big deal, the people were talking about it, and it's created, if you're on Twitter at all, it's created a lot of consternation, let's say, in the Ogra Sinn Féin people, the students Sinn Féin supporters. They're acting out in ways now. Like basically, I don't know. There's some people I know from like be on the left or PBP, and they're on Twitter, and they're getting into these kind of blazing rows on social media. And there's all these kind of screenshots that keep going up of like them ridiculing each other. But like you see what you're seeing there. I speaking as somebody who you know, I've experience with Sinn Féin supporters, you know, they're in pain, you know. What's that one, you know, the thing when people say when like the dog, it's like, I know dogs, and when they're making that noise,
they only do this.
You know, they only do this when they're distressed. But basically, you know, so slowly, a little bit gradually, just over the course of, you know, okay. So my experience is that like Sinn Féin made gains, and I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of something that is going to get these parties that I hate out of government. So I went down to Liberty Hall when they were doing their rallies that were compared to fascist rallies, if you remember, back in 2020.
Yes.
And so I was outside.
Crowds?
Yeah.
Must be fascism.
And this is before COVID, and everybody was like going in there to like, so that the whole place, Liberty Hall, was like packed out. So they couldn't get everybody in. I'm getting that right, isn't it? Liberty Hall? Okay. And
I can fact check it here.
Yeah. Well, I got confirmation from in the room, so I think we're all right.
Nice.
But so I went there, and they were like, "Oh, there's not enough space for everybody." And then Pierce Doherty came out and did what he does best, which is just yell really loud.
Without fucking stink.
And he just was like, we're going to go to them and we're going to show them that we want change in this country. And it was like, and we were all, I was fucking fairly roused anyway. And we went for a drink, and we thought like things are going to be different now. And then COVID happened, and then Radker and the boys are now going to be back in again very soon. And we've not known peace since. And so everything was focused on COVID. I do think that Sinn Féin were fairly absent. They didn't really say anything, but I was kind of chalking that up to them being in like a precarious electoral position where it's like, don't say anything in case you know, basically we don't want to rock the boat because we have a good...
Don't fuck it up.
Exactly. And it's like, well, what use is it going to be? And everybody, opposition parties around the world were having difficulty figuring out how to navigate being opposition in the time of COVID, you know? You know, some people could have handled it a lot better, but like whatever. I wasn't about to fault them. And then I kept hearing like Owen O'Brien on all these podcasts talking about housing and blah, blah, blah. And it made me hopeful. Like, it was like, okay, there are these people. And then, but I remember there was a time there, like in late 2020, where I was giving out yards about some lady who used to be in Ogre Sinn Féin. And then she left because she said there were Brian Stanley's homophobic comments, you know? Oh, yeah, and I was like, you know, what are you doing? Why are you giving this red meat to them? You know, we want Sinn Féin in. We want them to like be getting it. And like, now I look back and I feel like, oh, like just, I don't know. I feel really bad. I feel like I shouldn't have been, I don't know what point I'm trying to get. The point is that, like, I was...
you feel let down by Sinn Féin.
Yeah, essentially. So, like, I don't know why I went back that far. I just wanted to give the context for, like, just all of a sudden, the past few weeks, like, there were all these things I could kind of explain away, but then as soon as, like, Owen O'Brien was like, I don't know if we could do what they did in Berlin. I don't think that would work here. You're like,
yeah.
And then Pierce Doherty's like, they know that the multinationals know they have nothing to fear from Sinn Féin. You're like, and then the Ardèche happened.
That in particular I thought was so weak. It's like, the multinationals have nothing to fear. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
From what I gathered from people that have been paying attention to politics a lot longer than I have, like I would say that I probably started paying, like, you know, actually paying attention to politics really maybe like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, but people that had been, whether paying attention kind of just, you know, passively, or people that I know who'd be involved in, like, say, PVP in Galway, or like people that would actually be kind of actively involved, like, would have always said the same about kind of Sinn Féin, and kind of more so the Green Party, but the same kind of, it's like they knew, you know, because they've been paying attention for longer, like, they're not, you know, they're not the answer, or they're not going to, you know, they will balk at the first sign of actually having to do something really radical.
They'll blink. Yeah. They'll be, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't think you can like beat yourself up about being fucking hopeful. Yeah. Like, you know, that's like, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, like,
And
it is a real.
They do talk a good game a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like it is, you know, and like the likes of like Owen O'Brien and like Pierce Doherty, and you know, they like the people who have now become like the Sinn Féin, you know, spokespeople.
Yeah, the heavy hitters and all that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they speak well. Some of them do have very good ideas. But yeah, like with the likes of the what is it, like the extradition or the what's it, the court without a jury.
Yeah.
Like, surely that's not a good idea.
Special criminals court.
That special criminals court. Thank you.
Yeah. Exactly. So like,
and like their stance on like on abortion.
Oh fuck yeah! I forgot about that.
And like 6 counties as well. Yeah. So it's like
yeah. I mean,
so
that was. It's just this has been like a few weeks of just like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like just this feeling of like, oh, just. Yeah, no, because like people have been paying a lot attention a lot longer and could have told me this was going to happen, and but I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be hopeful, and but like it's been, that's been a really defeating part of the whole process. But I also think it's funny because it's the IRA actually, if you'll pardon the pun, they kind of drew fire away from all those type of inconsistencies.
Hey-o.
Yeah. So, but you know the way, consistently it would always be like, you can't let them in there because then the IRA will be running everything. It's like, oh, fuck off. Like, I'm fed up of that. You know, this being brought up consistently as a reason for why we can't indulge an opposition, why we can't have a party that seems to be more adversarial to these forces, you know? And so that was the thing that kept getting talked about, and they were kind of riding the waves of like Bernie Sanders and Corbyn and stuff, where it's like there's a kind of, I don't know if the aesthetic is the right word, but there's something whereby, you know, there's something going around the world. There's a language, there is a posture,
a radical aesthetic,
exactly, and you can take that and you can be like, yep, that's what we are, and then all of a sudden you start to hear it and it's like, oh no, it's not. This is basically old school Fianna Fáil, you know, where it's like it's quite similar, except, you know, it used to be that I heard Martin McMahon on the Echo Chamber podcast years ago. He said, you know, now there's no difference between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but the difference between them used to be that Fine Gael would screw you and Fianna Fáil would screw you, but they would still leave enough money in your pocket for a pint on a Friday night, you know? And that kind of seems to be the thing that they're trying to go for. Fianna Fáil have been essentially absorbed by Fine Gael, you know? Like, it's hard to imagine, like, they feel very ineffective, toothless. They're in there getting their payday. There's people who are angry. Maybe they'll make a comeback, but I mean, it took them long enough to get back to where they were, to even get back to the pace where they were in general election 2020, and they seem to have squandered all the goodwill, and also been aided in squandering it by Fine Gael, who were just eating them apart from the inside. But and
I don't know, was it yourselves or was it the Echo Chamber that I remember talking about it, like, you know, just after the general election, and someone made the point somewhere about how, like, Fine Gael were just really giving Fianna Fáil kind of the poison chalice, and they were giving them the positions that would just be fucking guaranteed to fail. Which, so, like, in a way, it's like mission accomplished.
Yeah, it was like, why, like,
from that front.
They were actually, I think it was the Echo Chamber, and I think because it was a great point where it was like, why did they willingly take all of those? It's just like, they like, no, we'll keep Pascal in finance and then give you all of the worst departments that like, I guess there was like, it was a gamble. It was like, let's go all in. Like, if we can be seen to be making a difference on this, then we'll be able to get back in a more meaningful way into power. But I mean, their solutions aren't any different to Fine Gael, so I don't really know why they thought that they would be able to make a difference in any meaningful way. But no, I guess there was,
moral of the story, Sinn Féin, not perfect.
No,
by any means.
No, and really depressing, and also like, you know, I guess the young Sinn Féin people in your life at the moment, you know, be kind to them, you know, because I was saying be kind to them. They're hurting, you know. Just because I saw, like, you know, because so they were obviously like, oh no, don't. So, you know, the Sinn Féin had their Ardèche, and then they voted on a motion whereby what was it? Something to do with that they wouldn't abstain on the special criminals court, like that they would vote in favor of it. And this is like a sop to, they'd vote to maintain it in the next opportunity because they, it's such a cynical gesture to a voter base which is never going to embrace them. But anyway, they're trying it. I guess they feel comfortable that they're not going to lose the people that they already have. Maybe that's what they were waiting for since they got in. Maybe that's why they didn't do anything until now. So yeah, anyways. So this has been Gareth Lyons. We didn't even do introductions. But it's Gareth Lyons and with Joe Joyce, one of our top tier Patreon subscribers.
Thank you.
Always part of the elite, part of the establishment of Celtic Lagers. You know,
that is my proudest achievement in life.
Jesus.
Followed closely by 10 seconds on Jack Taylor.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to watch that again. And I highly recommend watching that episode with Emma Kerwin as a traveller.
I will. You piqued my interest on that one.
And the video game one is very funny as well, because I do actually have some CGI for a video game in it. And he puts on like a headset, and it's like, oh my God, it's so realistic. And it's like, you get a look at it.
I'm in the metaverse.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I was like, they call it meta for... I'm trying to... What would he say? What would Jack Taylor say about the metaverse? He'd be like...
I met a woman last night.
Fuck, damn, that's good. I hate when somebody comes up with a joke that's better than anything I could do. All right. People are talking
just
about...
described existence on Twitter.
Yeah. It's like people are talking about Dune, but why aren't they talking about doing good jokes and having a good time with your friend on a podcast? It's been great. Where do people find you if you want to be found?
If I want to be found... my Twitter handle is @Joseph B. Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
The B, guess what the B stands for, Gareth?
B movie.
Wow, yeah.
Bartholomew.
Yeah.
Shit.
Wow, what a good guess.
Yeah.
Joseph B. Joyce on Twitter.
Brilliant.
That's me.
And do you have any thing coming up that you want to plug? Do you do things like comedy or?
Not really. Do a bit of writing, actually, for Totally Dublin. They're like a...
No way.
They have the online magazine, and then there's a physical magazine, and I think I'm told that you'll find it in various shops around Dublin. Like, I live in Galway, so I've never seen a copy in the wild, but I write album reviews and book reviews for them.
Brilliant.
So if you ever want to see some of my long form thoughts in writing, then pick up a copy of Totally Dublin.
All right, brilliant.
Nice one.
And I'll record the other stuff later on. So thank you so much for coming on. It's great to talk to you. It's great to finally meet you. We should do this again. Honestly, I'd love to just meet up. Also, I'm from Galway, obviously, so I'm going
I know.
I'm going back in December. So maybe if you're around for one of the days in Christmas, you know.
Yes, we should 100% get a pint.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great. All right, so that's that. Thanks very much, Joe. That was a great conversation. So maybe people could tell, since this episode was 3 weeks late, but it's been a bit challenging the past while to get it out regularly, and I just have a lot of stuff on in my life, and there's a job that I have at the moment which is coming up, and I need to give my full attention because it's in a field of in an area that I've wanted to do something, I've wanted to have a career in for a very long time. So I'm going to have to stop recording the podcast effective immediately. So and I'm very cut up about it, if I'm honest. I've really come to love the community that's grown around the podcast and the stuff that I've become involved with as a result of the podcast, and but it is not really fair on people who are handing over their money, and because I'm not producing the best thing that I could be producing, and it's also, I wouldn't be being fair to myself if I continued in it the way that I was doing it, because it's kind of taken my time and energy away from other things. So I don't know. sad about it. I was going to put up a post, just be like, bye. But instead I thought, oh no, I really want to do an episode with Joe Joyce, who is a longtime patron of the show and very supportive, and that's not to take away from all the other people who are incredibly supportive and brilliant. And so thank you very much. And this might be the last time I speak on this podcast for a very long time. But yeah, so I'm sorry, and also thank you to everybody, and thank you to James Moran as well, who's one of the funniest person I know, probably, fair to say. And it's been a great experience doing the podcast, and maybe there's a part of me that could feel a little embarrassed to be so earnest, but I'm sorry, it's the truth. I really liked this podcast. I like doing it. I like all the people involved. I like the people I started with, and I'm sorry that I couldn't keep going with it. So maybe, because I'm bad at saying goodbye, you'll probably see some stuff from time to time, but I would kind of just say, like, I can't do it on a regular basis and have the Patreon and all that. And so what's going to happen is the Patreon will stay up there for those who want to kick in. They can, I think the way Patreon works is that you pay the money, and that's where they get their cut from. It's not like I have a Patreon account and I give them money. It's that they take whatever people are donating. So if you want to keep donating and get access to those episodes, then by all means do. As for the normal feed, that'll stay up. So you'll always have access to those. I'll try and make sure of that. If you want to listen to yesterday's news, which some people might. And I guess other than that, I'll see you on Twitter and at Garfield's Capman. So for this thank you, I think I'm just going to give you a rare, sincere thank you. And each an individual one on top of that to boot. Emily Dooling, thank you. Sean Tack, thank you. Ben, thank you. Zainab Laffy, thank you. Sean Donnelly, thank you. Mickey Finn, thank you. Benson, thank you. Francis Breen, oh well, thank you. Simon Akers, thanks a million. Mark Stokes, thank you very much. Mark Maloney, thank you very much, just like the way Elvis says it. Blahin de Burka, muchas gracias. Alan Carroll, Denada, no thanks. Stephen Bradley, Thankerino. Richard Zimmerman, thank ye. Bridget Purcell, thanks. Milky Fox, much appreciated. Thank you. Kyle O'Neill, thanks a million. Thanks a trillion. Thanks a zillion. I don't know. Connor Barry, thank you. Claire O'Newlon, thank you very much. Ronan Kerry, thanks a plenty. Neve Kelly, thanks. These like Banksy. Paulie Doyle, thank you very much. Thank you very, very, very much. Like the song goes. And Joe Joyce, I mean, what else can you say? Great guest. Great episode. I really enjoyed that. And thank you so much for your patronage over the years, because it's been fucking years. Can you believe it? Has it been years or has it been a year and a half? Fucking hell. I don't know. It's felt like a long time. But anyway, thank you so much. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there. And